Welcome, everyone. We're diving deep into attachment theory today.
Such a fascinating topic.
It really is. And our guide for this deep dive is Leslie Becker Phelps' book.
Insecure in love.
Exactly.
Hmm.
How anxious attachment can make you feel jealous, needy, and worried, and what you can do about it.
I mean, with a title like that, how could we not talk about it?
And it's gotten some amazing reviews.
Yeah, big names in psychology love this book.
Like Dr. Eric Mell.
Oh, and Dr. Guy Winch, too.
So it's definitely a book that's making waves.
For good reason. It
Yeah.
really gets into how our childhood experiences
That's so interesting.
shape the way we approach love and intimacy as adults.
Yeah.
You know, it's like a blueprint.
Our childhood is a blueprint.
Yeah, for how we relate to others.
Makes you wonder how much of our adult relationships are influenced by those early years.
It's a lot more than we realize, I think.
So we're talking about attachment styles, right?
Exactly.
That's the term.
It's basically like,
Our relationship style.
yeah. And it's fascinating because it all stems from this need for connection and security.
Like we all crave that feeling of belonging.
Absolutely. It's wired into us.
We're social creatures after all.
Exactly. And that's where the attachment system comes in.
Okay, let's break that down.
So imagine you're a baby, completely dependent on your caregivers for survival.
Food, shelter, comfort.
The whole 9 yards.
Totally.
And those early experiences of being cared for or not being cared for,
That makes sense.
they shape how we view relationships.
Like we develop expectations based on those early interactions.
Exactly. It creates this internal working model for how relationships should work.
Fascinating.
It really is.
So in a way, our early relationships set the stage for our romantic relationships later in life.
In a big way. Think
Yeah.
about it.
It's like a template.
Yeah, like a template.
But how does this internal working model play out in our adult relationships?
Well, according to attachment theory,
Yeah.
we all have this built-in guidance system.
A guidance system.
Yeah, for relationships.
Okay. I'm intrigued.
It's called the attachment system.
The attachment system.
Yeah, and it basically has 3 core functions:
3 core functions.
proximity, safe haven, and secure base.
Okay, that sounds complicated. Let's take them one by one.
Sure. So proximity is all about that instinctual drive to be close to our loved ones.
Makes sense. We want to be near the people we care about.
Exactly. It's like we have this internal homing device.
Like a built-in GPS for love.
Haha. Yeah, kinda. It draws us to the people who make us feel safe.
So proximity is about feeling close and connected.
Yes. But it goes even deeper than that.
Okay, tell me more.
It's about feeling safe and protected too. And that's where the safe haven function comes in.
Safe haven.
When we're feeling stressed or scared.
Overwhelmed?
Yeah, exactly. We instinctively turn to our loved ones for comfort and support.
Like seeking shelter from a storm?
Exactly. It's that sense of security and comfort that we crave.
And what about the third function?
Secure base.
Yeah, secure base. Tell me more.
So a secure base is what allows us to go out and explore the world knowing we have a safe and loving place to return to.
So it's like having a solid foundation.
Yes. And that foundation allows us to take risks, try new things, and grow as individuals.
So the attachment system is like this incredible support system.
It is. It guides us towards connection, helps us seek comfort in times of need.
And empowers us to explore the world.
Exactly. But here's the thing.
What's that?
Not all attachment systems are created equal.
So you're saying there are different types of attachment.
Yes. And the way we're cared for as children can really impact how our attachment system develops.
So our early experiences shape our attachment style.
Exactly. It's like those early relationships lay the groundwork for how we approach love and intimacy as adults.
This is getting really interesting. I'm eager to learn more about these different attachment styles.
Me too. Let's dive into that next.
Sounds good.
All right. So let's start with the gold standard, shall we?
Okay, hit me with it.
Secure attachment.
Secure attachment.
Yeah, this is like the ideal scenario, right?
Okay, paint me a picture.
So securely attached individuals, they feel comfortable with both intimacy and independence.
They've got a good balance.
Exactly. They're able to trust their partners, communicate their needs effectively, and,
Yeah.
navigate conflicts constructively.
Like the relationship dream team.
Totally. And about 60% of people fall into this category.
That's pretty encouraging.
It is. But what about the other 40%? Right?
Yeah, what about those of us who didn't win the attachment lottery?
Uh-huh. Well, there are a few other attachment styles that aren't quite as ideal.
Like what?
Well, there's preoccupied attachment for starters.
Preoccupied attachment.
Yeah. And with his style, it's like you're constantly craving closeness, but you're terrified of rejection.
That sounds like a tough combination.
It is.
Yeah.
People with this attachment style tend to be overly dependent on their partners.
Always seeking reassurance.
Exactly. They're constantly worried about their partner's love and commitment.
I know someone like that. My friend Rachel, she's always texting her boyfriend Phil and gets super anxious if he doesn't respond right away.
That could definitely be a sign of preoccupied attachment.
Mm,
Yeah.
makes sense.
They just really fear that any little thing could mean the end of the relationship.
Oh, wow. It's tough.
It is. So what's on the other end of the spectrum?
Well, on the opposite end, you have dismissing attachment.
Dismissing.
Yeah,
So these are the folks who are all about independence
exactly. They value their freedom and autonomy above all else.
and emotional intimacy.
Not so much.
It's like they're allergic to feelings,
Uh-huh, kind of. They tend to avoid those deep emotional connections.
almost like they're trying to protect themselves from getting hurt.
That's exactly it. It's a defense mechanism, you know?
I see.
Like my friend Andy, he's always downplaying his need for connection and gets all squirmy whenever his girlfriend tries to talk about her feelings.
So he might be pushing her away even though he cares about her?
It's possible,
Yeah,
because intimacy just feels too risky.
exactly. For people with a dismissing attachment style, getting close is scary.
Makes sense.
But then there's the most complex style of all.
Oh, there's more.
Yeah, this one is a real head scratcher.
Lay it on me.
Fearful attachment.
Fearful attachment.
It's a bit of a paradox, really,
How so?
because these individuals both desire and fear intimacy.
Talk about confusing.
I know, right? It's like they're caught in this constant push and pull,
You want closeness.
but they're also terrified of it.
I actually know someone like that. John, he's always struggling to find that balance between connection and distance.
Classic fearful attachment.
Wow. So these early childhood experiences really do leave a lasting impact.
They really do. It's fascinating and a little bit daunting at the same time.
It makes you wonder if there's any hope for those of us with insecure attachment styles.
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Are we doomed to repeat these patterns forever?
Well, that's what we'll explore next.
Can't wait.
Well, the good news is that change is possible.
Phew, that's a relief to hear.
It really is, and it's called earned secure attachment.
Earned secure
It
attachment.
means we can actually work towards a more secure attachment style.
Even if our childhood wasn't exactly picture perfect.
Exactly. It's about rewiring those old patterns and creating new, healthier ways of relating.
That sounds promising, but also like a lot of work.
It does take effort, but the rewards are worth it.
So where do we even begin?
Well, I think the first step is understanding what keeps us stuck in these patterns.
Makes sense. Gotta know your enemy, right?
Exactly. And one of the biggest culprits is something called confirmation bias.
Confirmation bias.
Our brains are kind of sneaky like that.
Sneaky
They
head.
love to seek out evidence that confirms our existing beliefs,
Even if those beliefs are totally off base.
even if they're negative or inaccurate.
So it's like our brains are playing tricks on us.
In a way, they are, yeah.
So if we believe we're unlovable, we're more likely to focus on the negative parts of our relationships.
Ignore the positive ones. Like we're filtering out all the good stuff.
Exactly. And the book gives a great example of this. Jenny. She has an anxious attachment style.
Okay, Jen.
And she's constantly worried that her boyfriend Brian is cheating on her, even if Brian has never given her any reason to doubt him.
Right. But Jenny, she interprets everything he does as a sign that he's being unfaithful.
So she's seeing what she expects to see.
That's confirmation bias in action.
Wow, that's scary how our minds can distort things like that.
It's true, and if we're not careful, it can really sabotage our relationship.
So we have to be aware of this confirmation bias.
Awareness is key. And then there's another tricky psychological mechanism at play here.
Oh, there's more.
Yeah, this one is called self-verification.
Self-verification.
It's basically this tendency to behave in ways that confirm our core beliefs about ourselves.
Especially when it comes to our lovability.
Right. So if we believe we're unworthy of love,
We might actually act in ways that push people away,
exactly, even if it's the last thing we consciously want to do.
like self-sabotaging our relationships.
It's heartbreaking, but it happens all the time.
So we're kind of creating our own self-fulfilling prophecies.
It's like we're setting ourselves up for failure.
But if we're aware of these patterns, can we break free from them?
That's the hope. Awareness is the first step.
Okay, so awareness is key, but what's next?
Well, we also need to cultivate something called compassionate self-awareness.
Compassionate self-awareness.
It's about paying attention to our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors.
Sounds like mindfulness.
Similar, but with a twist.
What's the twist?
It's not about judging ourselves for having these thoughts and feelings,
But rather.
acknowledging them with kindness and understanding.
So it's about being gentle with ourselves.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that these patterns were developed as a way to protect ourselves.
Even if they're not serving us anymore.
Right. So instead of beating ourselves up for feeling anxious or jealous,
We can say,
hey, it's okay to feel this way. I understand why I'm reacting this way given my past experiences.
But now I'm choosing to respond differently.
That's the spirit. It's about taking ownership of our reactions and making conscious choices.
That's a much more empowering approach.
It is. It puts us back in the driver's seat.
So we've talked about awareness and compassionate self-awareness, but how do we actually shift these patterns and create healthier relationships?
Well, one of the most powerful things we can do is choose a secure partner.
Easier said than done, right?
I know it can feel like searching for a unicorn,
Ah, yeah,
but seriously, we can't change other people.
true.
But we can choose to be with people who are emotionally available, supportive, and,
Capable of meeting our needs.
exactly. And choosing a secure partner can be a game changer.
Because their secure attachment can actually help us heal.
It's like they create a safe space for us to grow and evolve.
But how do we even know if someone is securely attached?
Well, there's some telltale signs.
Fill me in.
Securely attached people are generally comfortable with intimacy.
Both emotional and physical.
Right. They're able to communicate their needs clearly and respectfully.
And they're good listeners.
Excellent listeners. They validate their partner's experiences without getting defensive.
Sounds like a dream come true.
It can be.
Yeah.
And they're not afraid to be vulnerable and share their true selves.
Those are some seriously amazing qualities.
They are. But remember, earned secure attachment is a real thing.
Right. So even if someone hasn't had the best childhood experiences,
They can still learn and grow and develop those secure attachment qualities over time.
that gives me hope.
Me too. But let's shift back to our own inner work for a moment.
Okay, back to basics.
You mentioned compassionate self-awareness earlier.
I did. It's such an important concept.
It really is. And the key is to become a keen observer of our own internal world.
So paying attention to those moments
When anxiety creeps in, when jealousy rears its ugly head.
when we start spiraling into those familiar patterns of self-doubt.
Exactly. It's about hitting the pause button and really tuning into what's happening inside.
So we're becoming more aware of our triggers.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Those triggers that set off our attachment alarm bells.
And once we've identified those patterns,
We can start to approach them with compassion.
so it's not about suppressing or ignoring those feelings.
No, it's about acknowledging them with understanding.
Okay, so we're becoming more aware of our triggers. What's next?
One of the most valuable tools the book offers is self-disclosure.
Self-disclosure.
It's about being vulnerable enough to share our true selves with our partners,
Even those parts we're afraid to show.
especially those parts. Because true intimacy thrives on authenticity.
But that can be so scary.
I know it can be terrifying, especially if we're worried about being judged or rejected.
It's like taking a huge leap of faith.
It is. But when we allow ourselves to be seen, flaws and all.
It creates a deeper connection with our partners.
Exactly. Of course, this requires choosing a partner who is capable of receiving that vulnerability.
With empathy and understanding.
Absolutely. But what about when conflicts arise?
Oh yeah, that's the real test, right?
It is. And that's where effective communication comes in.
So no more passive-aggressive behavior.
Nope. We got to be direct and honest.
Expressing our needs clearly and respectfully.
Exactly. But also being open to hearing our partner's perspective.
It's a two-way street.
Always. And when those deep-seated fears of abandonment start to surface,
Or those anxieties about being unlovable.
we need to shift our focus
To what?
to building interdependence rather than codependence.
I've heard those terms before, but I'm not sure I fully understand the difference.
Sure, so codependence is when we rely on our partner to fulfill all our needs to make us feel whole.
It's like we're clinging to them for dear life.
Exactly. And fearing that we'll fall apart without them.
Whereas interdependence.
Interdependence is about recognizing that we are complete individuals capable of standing on our own 2 feet.
But choosing to share our lives and support each other's growth.
That's it. It's about finding that sweet spot between being independent and being connected.
Ah, that makes so much sense.
That's about balance, right?
Exactly. And a big part of interdependence is learning to ask for support in a healthy way.
Right. It's about expressing our needs clearly and directly.
Without resorting to manipulation or guilt tripping.
Exactly. But it's also important to recognize that our partners won't always be able to meet every single one of our needs.
So what do we do in those instances when our partner isn't available or able to provide the support we need?
That's why it's crucial to have other sources of support in our lives.
Like friends, family members, a therapist?
Exactly. We don't want to put all our emotional eggs in one basket, so to speak.
Diversifying our support system is key.
It really is. That way we're not solely reliant on our partner to meet all of our needs.
This has been so insightful.
I'm glad you're finding it helpful.
I really am. I feel like I'm learning so much about myself and my relationships.
That's what it's all about.
It really is. So we've covered a lot of ground today.
We have, from understanding attachment styles to
Cultivating compassionate self-awareness.
building interdependence.
There's so much to unpack when it comes to relationships.
There really is. And we're just getting started.
True that. But before we dive even deeper into strategies for creating those healthier, more fulfilling relationships.
Let's take a quick pause.
All right, sounds good. We'll be back in a flash to continue our exploration of insecure in love. And we're back, diving deeper into insecure in love.
So much good stuff in this book. We've only just scratched the surface.
I know, right? There's just so much to unpack when it comes to relationships.
It's true. And, before the break, we were talking about the importance of building interdependence and,
Yeah,
diversifying our support systems.
right. Having those people we can lean on.
Exactly. But what about those times when those fears and insecurities pop up?
Even when we're in a good relationship.
Yeah, even when things are going well, those old patterns can still creep in.
It's like they have a mind of their own.
They do. It's like our inner critic is always lurking in the shadows.
Waiting to pounce.
Uh-huh. Yeah, kind of. But the book offers some really helpful strategies for those moments.
Oh, good, because I think we all experience that sometimes.
We do. It's normal to feel those insecurities from time to time.
So what can we do about it?
Well, one of the key things the book suggests is shifting our focus
Shifting our focus.
from what's missing in our relationships to what's already there.
So instead of dwelling on what our partner isn't doing or how they're not meeting our needs,
We try to appreciate the good things they bring to the table.
it's like a gratitude practice.
Exactly. It's about noticing those little things that make us smile, those moments of connection.
And reminding ourselves why we chose to be with this person in the first place.
Exactly. Because sometimes we just need a little reminder.
Especially when those insecurities start to creep in.
It's so easy to get caught up in the negative, but focusing on the positive can really shift our perspective.
Makes sense. And speaking of shifting perspectives, what about forgiveness?
Forgiveness.
It's the big one.
It is. And it can be so challenging, especially when we've been hurt or betrayed.
Yeah, sometimes it feels impossible to forgive.
I get that. But, forgiveness is not about condoning the other person's actions.
So it's not about saying what they did was okay.
Exactly. It's about releasing those negative emotions that are weighing us down.
The anger, the resentment, the bitterness.
All of that. It's about creating space for healing and growth.
So it's more about our own internal process.
Yes. It's about choosing to move forward, both individually and as a couple.
Because holding on to that anger and resentment,
It just keeps us stuck.
it really does. And sometimes we need a little help to let go.
Absolutely. That's where therapy can be incredibly valuable.
Yeah, having a neutral third party to guide those conversations.
It can make a world of difference.
And speaking of communication, the book talks about something called mentalizing.
Mentalizing.
I've never heard of that before.
It's basically the ability to understand our own mental states and the mental states of others.
So being able to see things from multiple perspectives?
Exactly. It's about recognizing that our partner's behavior is often driven by their own thoughts, feelings, and experiences.
So if my partner is being distant or withdrawn,
Instead of assuming they don't care.
we try to understand what might be going on for them internally.
Exactly. Maybe they're stressed about work or dealing with a family issue or just need some alone time.
Mentalizing helps us avoid those knee-jerk reactions.
And respond with empathy and understanding.
That's such a valuable skill.
It really is. And it's something we can develop with practice.
So the more we pay attention to our own thoughts and feelings,
And the more we try to understand the perspectives of others.
the better we become at mentalizing.
Exactly. It's like a muscle we can strengthen over time.
This has been such an enlightening deep dive.
I'm so glad to hear that.
I feel like I've learned so much about attachment theory and how it impacts our relationships.
Me too. And I hope our listeners feel the same way.
I'm sure they do. This book, Insecure in Love, it's really a game changer.
It is. It gives us the tools to create healthier, more fulfilling relationships.
And to rewrite our love stories.
Exactly. Because no matter what our past experiences have been,
We all deserve to experience love and connection.
absolutely. And we have the power to choose happiness.
That's such a powerful message.
It is. And I think it's something we all need to hear.
So to all our listeners out there,
No matter where you are on your relationship journey,
remember this.
you are worthy of love.
You are capable of creating secure and fulfilling connections.
And you have the power to choose happiness.
Thank you all for joining us on this deep dive into Insecure in Love.
It's been a pleasure.
Until next time.